What is going on? It is Devil Never Cry here, back again with another DMC5 video. So the release of this video obviously coincides with the new Famitsu interview we got, including Matt Walker and Okabe, both producers on the game, as well as including comments from Itsuno-san himself, the director of DMC5 for those who don't know. I believe this interview was done a short while ago, but it was only released yesterday. And has since been translated, so this video is basically going to focus on what they've said and my own personal take on it, as well as some potential backlash, or minor backlash shall we say, on some of the comments. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. So starting off, they again recap over the fact that the game is 60 frames a second. Nothing new here, bog standard for a DMC5 game. They then go on to talk about photorealism and how things were scanned and whatnot, and how basically all the scanning was essentially done overseas because that's where the models or the actors were basically based. So they decided to work at an overseas studio as well as in their Osaka branch. The article also holds an image of Nero's coat, one that we've seen Matt Walker wear at E3. So again, nothing new, they just talk about how that was scanned and how what they're doing essentially differs to what a lot of other people are doing when it comes to chasing photorealism. They also again recap on how they've attempted to deal with the uncanny valley effect when it comes to photorealism and yada 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 whatnot. So we've basically had all these things before, just to start off. Moving on to some juicy deets, as you might say. We learn that the game is set several, and the word several here is stressed, several years after DMC4. Now, moving on to the juicy deets, we find out the game is set several years after DMC4, and the word several here is stressed. So obviously there's been quite a lot of translations, some fan translations, some official, but they all stress the word several. So this isn't a situation where it's only been a couple of years since the end of DMC4, it's been quite a while. They say that they did this because they wanted to show you how Nero had essentially matured in mind and body. So obviously if there was only a short time span between DMC4 and DMC5, they wouldn't really be able to show that sort of transgression easily, because if it was too big of a difference they'd be like, well, how is that possible, it might be jarring. So that's what they've used to justify it being set several years after. They also stress that Dante's been missing for a while, and they say that this is not without reason. So there is a particular reason why Dante's MIA, missing in action, but they haven't said anything about why that is. They wanted us to know that there is a reason he's gone. He hasn't turned into crazy hobo man and just fucking disappeared for bants. There's a valid story reason behind it, and yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what that is. Now we get on to an interesting comment that was made. They basically go on to talk about how animation cancelling was dealt with in the previous games. So, DMC3, DMC4, even DMC1, you were able to skip through animations by inputting, another attack or another movement or another jump, things like that. But because they want to keep this photorealistic, they say that this animation cancelling that was prevalent throughout the previous games wouldn't quite work. And that's because of the whole realism angle, and animation cancelling would look too weird, too janky. So instead, they say that that's essentially not going to happen. You'll be able to input the motion, but it won't skip through the animation. Now some people have taken this in a way that for them that it means that combat's going to be more restricted, because you'll likely now have to buffer instead of just straight up cancel, which I agree with. If they go through the route of having to buffer inputs, like nothing is, you're not going to be able to cancel anything, yeah, it would slow the combat right down. It would make it more methodic, but at the same time I do think it would restrict freedom. Now on the other side, people have taken this to mean that animations will now just blend seamlessly. So you'll be out there, inputting a combo, whatever you want to do. You see an enemy coming, you want to cancel out of it with a roll, jump, whatever. Apparently, the animations will just blend seamlessly. It won't look like an animation has been cancelled. It will just look fluid. And if they're able to actually achieve that, that will be insane. It will be a first for the series, But again, we don't know what exactly this comment has meant, and there have been multiple translations of this, and each person has sort of put this their own way. Now personally, I'm in the whole no animation cancelling because everything will just blend in seamlessly camp. I don't believe that Itsuno will just take out cancelling in a series that's known for its cancels. But that's where sort of the backlash came in. People have taken to Twitter sort of protesting, I guess, or just voicing their opinion on what they think. And generally the whole idea of not being able to cancel, people don't like that. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. Who knows? Maybe things will be cleared up in a further interview, we don't know. But it's Itsuno. Itsuno's not going to pull something stupid, so as always, have faith. Though I would like to mention, they did talk about the weight behind a character's movement, and they've talked about how this weight provides a slower response, but at the same time it's more realistic. But then again, it's not as responsive. So the team sort of comments on how they've struggled to find a way to keep the responsiveness while giving it a more realistic approach. Take that as you will. Moving on to some more interesting tidbits. They do confirm that the third person on the game's cover is going to be the third playable character. They reiterate the fact that there'll be more to come at Gamescom, even suggesting a playable demo, which again is pretty fucking sweet, because it means we'll be able to get DMC5 in our hands in what, a month's time? Absolutely crazy. They then go over the fact that the music will change depending on how well you play. Now I believe it was Okabe who already brought this up before in a previous interview, but it's been reiterated here and confirmed, or reconfirmed for people. So if you want to button mash your way through DMC5, you'll likely end up hearing the same shitty track on loop, in and out, and it's only when you start to get good and you start pulling off those insane combos and getting those S ranks that you'll get changes here and there. I'm assuming maybe the melody or lyrics will kick in and change and whatnot, but yeah, so it's just another reason for you to give it your all in combat. Now here's where things start to get interesting, and it's some information about Nico and this third playable character. Again, like the whole animation thing, it's basically another point where the convergence in the translations sort of seem to split, with everybody taking their own sort of approach as to what a particular comment means. The first sort of theory put forth based on this translation is that Nico's tattoos may or may not be important. So looking at her character model, she has tattooed on her arm a man with the writing, or script saying "I wish you'd still be here" with me above it. So maybe this third playable character is that dude, who knows. But then again, this other theory is that this third character potentially might be named or nicknamed Tattoo, basically because of their tattoo sleeves, and that they might be connected to Nico in some sort of way. Two theories that are sort of on the opposite ends of a spectrum here, but again they both seem to imply that Nico and this tattooed man, this third playable character, are connected in some sort of way. And finally, as a closing off comment, they again suggest that they want DMC5, or not even suggest, they outright say they want Devil May Cry 5 to be the peak, yes, the peak of action games. So we had a lot to digest in that interview. I believe not everything is actually translated, but the majority of it is. Gamescom is not that far away. We don't have much longer to wait. I am hoping, praying that they end up dropping another trailer where potentially we see Dante and maybe see things from his side. We know Nero's motivation for being in here, but we don't know much about Dante. I mean, other than what they've told us, where Dante's going wild, but he's going wild for a reason. The whole theme of the game is intended to be revenge. But again, who knows? Who knows? Let's not delve into speculation right now. This isn't the video or place for it. Big shout out to everybody who helped in the translation of this, including the DMC5 Info Twitter account. Give those guys a follow if you would. There's also a big thread on Reset Era about everything. So if you want everything down on paper, alright, or in writing, I'll drop the links down below. That way you don't have to sit through this and listen to me if you don't want to, or perhaps you don't have the time to listen to, so you'd rather get things in a bullet point format. Regardless, thank you guys for tuning in. It has been me, Devil Never Cry. Thank you for watching. I'll see you again at some other point.